Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our admins, and the message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as anonymous? I think that I need to share my own story. I want to tell everyone that a divorced daughter is better than a dead daughter. I think that as Africans, we need to rethink that it is not a shame to have a daughter that is divorced. It is not a shame to have a failed marriage. It is okay for one to walk away from an abusive marriage than to be beaten by your husband almost on a daily basis, all in the name of I am a married woman. If I get divorced from this man, then people are going to laugh at me. It is okay for the young woman to walk away from a marriage that no longer serves her, to walk away from abuse, to walk away and to never look back, than to sink into depression. I watched my own husband die and I do not even regret it. I got married, this was in my mid-20s, to a man who was 15 years my senior. When I got married, the aunties had sat me down and taught me about the do's and don'ts in the marriage. You are supposed to do this, you are not supposed to do that. Make sure that your husband is happy with you at all the times, as if I was his slave. I prided myself in having a good home training, plus academically, I had done well for myself. The first 6 months of marriage was a bliss for me. I was like a little spoiled princess. My husband, despite him being a busy man, he would always come home in time and we would have a family meal together. And it was only me and my husband most of the times. We were both happy, but I started to notice that with each and every passing day, he was becoming distant. And at first, I thought that he was overwhelmed at work or maybe a new baby, but I doubted that highly because at home I had an army of helpers and he also had assistants at work. He just had to snap his fingers and all that he wanted was going to be done. No questions were going to be asked. One day I could not find any phone and I wanted someone to call it for me so that when I hear it ring, I would find it quickly. My husband, he was taking a shower and the baby was fast asleep in his crib, so I did not see any harm in taking his phone to call my phone so that I can locate my own phone. And after I had called, that was when I found out that I had slipped my phone underneath the headboard. There it was. After I had taken my phone, I looked at my husband's own phone and there was a WhatsApp notification that really caught my eye, and I just decided to snoop to see what it was all about. Besides, when you marry, they say you are now one thing, so it was like our phone now. I had no interest with it my whole married life, but the WhatsApp chat sounded interesting. The things that I saw in his phone, up to this day, I do not have any words. My husband was busy out there, busy sleeping around with people of different ages, small, young, and old. But when he came back home, he would just say that he was tired, and we would sleep as if we were like a brother and a sister. I quickly put the phone back, but I could hear that I was having palpitations. But in order not to arouse any suspicions, I put the phone back, and the message that I had opened, I had deleted it, so there was no evidence that I was ever in his phone. The man, he was a busy body. My husband came back home grumpy. I think that he must have discovered that I had been on his phone earlier on, because he would not bring himself to say it. He knew that I would ask questions, and he started with his verbal abuses. I was made to feel little, that I was not contributing anything. He said that you have just brought your hips and a pretty face into this marriage. My brother, there was physical abuse, there was verbal abuse. So right in our street, there was this other man who came. This man, he used to do some piece jobs in our area. He was a prophet. So I then went and I spoke with him about this issue. All that I wanted was to fix my marriage. But when I went to visit that prophet, he then took this other white cloth, you know, those cloth that the people from Zim wear when they go to their church. He took one and he told me that I had to help him so that we can hang it in his room. So after we had finished hanging that white cloth, he told me that we both had to kneel down in front of that white cloth. So I followed everything that he had done. Then I saw myself like I was on TV. I panicked and I wanted to run away, and he laughed and he said, "No, do not run away. We are going to see everything that is going to happen to you." So after I had left that prophet's house, this was like the vision that was being shown to me on that white cloth that was in front of me. I saw myself leaving that prophet's house, and I returned back to my husband, and he kept on verbally and physically abusing me. And then the next part was I saw myself, I was crying because down there it was really itchy, and it was a sexually transmitted disease that my husband had given to me. So I went to the clinic, but my husband, he kept on reinfecting me with the same disease, and that prophet then skipped that part, and he showed me the girl who kept on giving my husband this STI. This girl, the girl's mother, was also a healer, and she was actually using some charms on my husband. Then that prophet pretended as if he was pressing a pause button, and the whole vision just paused there, and he said, "There is no need to go any further with this because I can see that your marriage is not going to last to your husband." I started to cry because I was kneeling as I was holding his feet, and I kept on crying, and I said, "Man of God, please assist me." This man, he said that when I was kneeling before him, as I was crying, holding his legs, he looked at my hips, and immediately he said that he saw that I was a good woman who was being wasted by my husband. He told me to rise up on my feet. So I was looking at him directly into his eyes, and I saw that indeed he was handsome, much more handsome than my husband. I had been heartbroken so many times. My husband was the first man that I had slept with. Here I was with another man whom I was looking at with lust in my heart and in my eyes. He then said, "Do what you want to do, woman, and do it quickly before your husband calls you, for he is going to call you very soon. He will be asking you, 'Where the hell have you gone to?'" So I went back on my knees. Then I started to lick off his manhood, and I continued doing this until we slept together. I left that prophet's house in confusion. He just gave me some water, which he said that it was holy water, and I then returned back to my place. He had told me that when I would have walked into my house, what I was supposed to do was supposed to go to the bathroom or my bedroom, and I had to wipe off my feet using that water that he had given me, and that was what I did. As for my husband, he remained quiet. I thought that he was going to beat me up since he was used to beating me up, but on that day everything was just different, and I kept on being given this holy water by that prophet. The more that I was given this holy water, the more that my husband became more like a zombie, and I wanted more power. Yes, indeed, they say that power will corrupt you. At that moment, I was a corrupted somebody. This guy, when he went to Zim, I gave him a lot of money, and I bought some groceries for him, and I said, "When you come back, can you try to make a plan so that my husband can die?" And when he came back, indeed, we proceeded with killing my husband. He came back with some charms. Some of these charms that he came with, they were like your crawling worms that he gave me to place underneath my bed for 3 days. And after my husband had passed away, I inherited everything. For the prophet told me that my husband was going to die anyway. For the girl that he was dating, the girl had set her eyes on my husband's properties. So it was far much better that I take my husband's properties, since I'll be able to look after the child that we had together, rather than for him to be killed off by that girlfriend of his who was going to use these properties to enjoy the money with her other boyfriends. For in this vision, the prophet that he had, I was also going to die, but before my husband. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister. She said that when I looked at that prophet, I saw that he was handsome, and he said to me, "Do what you want to do to me as quickly as you can, woman, before your husband will call you." strange things do happen in this world. Yo.